Welcome back to NBA Cinema. So today I want to talk a little bit about the new look San Antonio Spurs, the role of Chris Paul coming in and kind of being a bridge, right? They're not expecting him to come in and be that missing piece to a championship team like you might have thought Chris Paul was, a few years ago, but they're expecting him to kind of organize the Spurs. And I think, that opportunity for Chris at this stage is too enticing to pass up. You also get to play with a player like Victor Wembanyama. You think about Chris going to Wake Forest. You think about, Wake Forest great Tim Duncan still around. Tim Duncan is someone Chris Paul obviously looked up to, being from Winston-Salem and playing at Wake Forest. So, you got that. I want to kind of show Chris Paul hooping with Isaiah Thomas and Jeremy Pargo, who was really big in the big three the last couple weeks. He been hooping for them. And I also want to show Victor Wembanyama highlights. And I kind of want to talk about how these two skill sets will merge and how Chris Paul's expertise and his understanding for the game will help take Wemby to the next level. Let's check it out. And let me just speak on the significance of Chris Paul and his importance to Victor Wembanyama's career. When I say he's coming in to be a bridge, I'm simply talking about the Spurs to build competitive habits as a team. You're not going to see Devin Vassell, just overhandling the ball and taking a high volume of bad shots. I mean, even though Devin Vassell can score, and I like what he's doing, I'm expecting Chris Paul to impart wisdom on him that will make the game easier for him. So I'm talking about the pieces around Victor. Jeremy Sohan, you're able to take the ball out of his hands in a permanent capacity. So now he becomes a do-it-all defensive guy, kind of like an enforcer for them. But a guy who has the versatility to make some plays without having to have the responsibilities of a point guard, which I feel like Trey Jones should have had more of that anyway, but Chris Paul gives you a more reliable game manager, if you will, at this stage in his career, who can also, still put up 18 points sometimes when needed, but also hand out assists and have guys where they need to be on offense. Um, but I think he unlocks everybody. He's going to have a very positive impact on Stephon Castle, who may eventually become an all-star with Wemby in the NBA, may end up being his number two long term. I believe that much in Stephon Castle, stuff that was imparted in him in his 1 year at UConn, just how great of a player he's been. He defends like Drew Holiday did at the same stage. So I expect some big things out of him as he catches up with the NBA, right? Harrison Ingram, I think Jeremy Sohan better watch out, because I think Harrison Ingram is one of those players who is going to play some really good ball around other players who can take some of the offensive role and stuff. I look at everything else Harrison Ingram can bring to a team when he's not scoring, and he'll be able to beat some players out who people think are better or may have more offensive gives, just because Ingram can impact the game in so many ways. But looking at how Chris will directly affect Victor Wembanyama, again, I think he will uh, make it easy, get him some lobs, get him some easy stuff to get him going at times that he may not have been able to get at any other time, just by having a real cerebral point guard like Chris, and a guy who, he's a threat from that mid range. And I think, instead of Wemby settling at times, Chris is going to point to the block and tell him where he wants to give him the ball. And he has that kind of voice, that kind of command of a team, where Victor, he may not even like it at times, but I think Chris Paul and his mind for the game is going to do wonders for Victor Wembanyama. And you can see his body in those clips where he's adding strength, where he's comfortable catching it in the post a lot more. I know some people were mad that Victor drifted a bit last year, but I didn't want him trying to be overly physical as well before his body got there, because you could risk injury, trying to bang down low with people you're not yet ready to bang with each time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad he kind of spreaded it out. It was like a trial run this season, pretty much with the Spurs. But Victor figured out a lot. His body put on a lot of muscle, and you could see the comfortability in this game, even in these clips. Right, he's playing with his home country, but you could tell he's much more comfortable with his body and how he's growing into it. And I think Chris Paul, looking at the way he was directing the campers in that footage, how he was hitting Isaiah Thomas on some hitter heads for him to score, how he was getting in the teeth for the defense, making some nice passes. I think that, and he's such a stabilizer of a team. I think you will see the Spurs become better. They may even get to a play-in level. You look at Chris Paul as a bridge and his history as a bridge. You look at what he did for the OKC Thunder. And now look at where they are now. And he bridged that. And not only did he bridge that, he talked about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wanting to pick up on his eating habits, his workout habits, just being a sponge and a student of the game. So he had a positive impact on who is probably the best scorer in the NBA right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he served as that bridge. So will he come to San Antonio, leave his positive imprint on the organization going forward? Because obviously they're going to have a point guard of the future, which they may bestow those responsibilities upon Stephon Castle for the long term. So he's very important to Wemby, but he also very important to Stephon Castle, in my opinion, man. So I want to know you guys' thoughts about this. What do you think about these two players coming together? What do you think about Chris Paul's impact on the team? I think it's going to be everlasting. I think some of the habits that Chris Paul will bring, since they will have to listen to his voice when he comes in, I think they'll be able to carry it as they grow into their primes. And I think it's going to be an everlasting effect, and it's going to bring in the new generation of the Spurs and potential dynasty. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.